Let me repeat again so that it's clear. The Good Friday Agreement does not require the United Kingdom to stay in the ECHR. It is specifically about legislation that is passed in Northern Ireland.
What happens when the BBC, the so-called voice of Britain, is caught red-handed twisting facts live on air? Today, you'll witness Richard Tice dismantling Victoria, Derbyshire in a clash that exposes just how desperate the establishment media has become. This wasn't journalism, it was an ambush.
That doesn't make sense. You say you pull the UK out of the ECHR, which is fundamental to the Good Friday.
But instead of folding, Tice fired back with facts the BBC doesn't want you to hear, and the moment it happened, it was awkward, painfully awkward.
People voted for the Good Friday Agreement as it was set up, which involves the ECHR. However,
and that doesn't necessarily legally need to change. That is the reality.
So why does this matter? Because it shows exactly why millions no longer trust the BBC to tell the truth. Stay with me, because what you're about to see isn't just a debate, it's a masterclass in how to shut down media spin. And before we roll the clip, do your part. Hit like, share this video, and subscribe. Because if we don't fight back, the BBC gets away with burying stories like this.
So somebody could have arrived here illegally, even though they are genuinely being oppressed, maltreated or tortured by the Taliban in Afghanistan, say, and you would send them back there, what, for public lashings?
Well, if people have come across the channel, they've come through a safe country. They come through France, and so that actually they should have claimed asylum elsewhere along their journey. The reason that they've ended up in the UK is because the UK has been far too generous and has become a magnet for people to come here and abuse our hospitality. And the harsh reality is that the vast majority of people coming across the English Channel are actually economic migrants or, regrettably, part of gangs, money launderers, drug dealers, and the like.
You say you will do deals with the Taliban in Afghanistan, you'll do deals with the supreme leader of Iran. How much are you willing to give them in order to accept people you want to deport?
Well, at the moment, we give or take £150 million a year of foreign aid to the Taliban. So whichever way you look at it...
No, it doesn't go to the Taliban, does it? It goes to NGOs.
It goes to Afghanistan, and the Taliban rule Afghanistan. That's the harsh reality of life.
And my question is, how much would you be willing to pay them?
Sometimes you have to negotiate and do business with people
You've said that.
You may not
I'm
like.
asking
Yes.
how much?
Well, that's the question of negotiation. We're years away from that, so I can't answer that question. Obviously, it's like asking how long's a piece of string.
I want to check that you still believe in following the result of referendums.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
We're quite good at referendums. We want a referendum.
Pause it right there, because you say you will pull the UK out of the European Convention on Human Rights, which, as you know, is embedded in the Good Friday Agreement, which ended 30 years of conflict in Northern Ireland. People voted overwhelmingly in two referendums, north and south on the island of Ireland, in favour of the Good Friday Agreement.
Yes.
You say you want to pull out of the ECHR, which is unravelling their democratic vote.
No, it's not. That's a complete misinterpretation and a misstatement of the reality. The ECHR is in the Good Friday Agreement, but the Good Friday Agreement does not say that the United Kingdom must stay in the ECHR. It is specifically with regard to legislation in Northern Ireland, and there are a number of different ways that different barristers interpret this. It's been discussed and debated in Parliament. There are barristers that have advised me, for example, that say actually it doesn't unravel the Good Friday Agreement if the United Kingdom leaves the ECHR. It's a very specific point.
Right. But people voted for the Good Friday Agreement as it was set up, which involves the ECHR. However...
And that doesn't necessarily legally need to change. That is the reality.
That doesn't make sense. You say you pull the UK out of the ECHR, which is fundamental to the Good Friday Agreement.
Let me repeat again so that it's clear. The Good Friday Agreement does not require the United Kingdom to stay in the ECHR. It is specifically about legislation that is passed in Northern Ireland.
OK. Well, I'm not sure if that's correct.
Well, different lawyers and different barristers often disagree on things. That's the advice that I've received because I specifically asked this a number of months ago.
Finally, Elon Musk said today after your press conference, unfortunately, the reality is that Farage will do almost nothing to protect Britain. That is obvious. How do you respond to that?
We're leading in all the national polls. You can be friendly with someone but not agree with them on everything. And we've had our agreements with Elon Musk. He's a brilliant entrepreneur. I enjoy many of his fine products. But sometimes you can disagree with friends.
Richard Tice, thank you very much for talking to us this evening.
Thank you.
What we've just seen isn't debate, it's bias. And you won't hear this analysis on the BBC or in the papers because they don't want you to. That's why your voice matters. Smash the like button so this story reaches more people. Subscribe so you never miss the truth the mainstream buries. Share this video with your friends so they see the BBC exposed for what it really is. And drop a comment below.